Ethereum is, of course, we know that since proof of stake, you actually have the ability to stake your Ethereum and secure the network and earn yield. That's very different from Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, you're not able to get a yield generating asset. And of course, we know that, institutional investors, for some section of their portfolio, that could be very, very attractive. Now, hello, and welcome back to another episode of WAGME TV. Today, the story is Ethereum ETFs. So, of course, a lot of this year has been taken up with conversation about Bitcoin ETFs, and naturally, that narrative is now transformed into Ethereum ETFs. News came out this week that 7 companies have actually filed for their own Ethereum ETFs. And we're going to take you through what those companies are and what that means for crypto. So, Amada, take it away.
Yeah, perfect. And great to have you back. So I haven't heard that intro in a while. So glad to have you here. But I think it's always important to kind of just start from the beginning. So the SEC, as we know, has yet to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF. As we know, there's been a lot of growing optimism that that regulator will approve one soon. And as more asset managers file paperwork for spot Bitcoin ETF products, that kind of is starting to leak into other pieces of the crypto environment, specifically Ethereum, kind of your silver to your gold of Bitcoin. So as we know, a unit of BlackRock filed paperwork last month for the formation of a spot Bitcoin ETF that prompted other asset managers like Invesco and WisdomTree and a few others to apply or even reapply as well for theirs. So if the SEC does approve that, it would be obviously a major milestone. We've talked about that in the past for the cryptocurrency space. It would obviously make it easier for investors to gain exposure to Bitcoin, gain exposure to the crypto environment. And really, we also talked about how it could help to legitimize the cryptocurrency market a bit more. So it's interesting, and I think it's a natural progression, and Ethereum ETF could be approved in the near future, should that actually end up going through. So that's what we'll start to talk through a little bit more today. But Evan, do you have those 7 or so companies that have actually filed specifically for an Ethereum ETF?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull those up right now. And I think what's interesting about these companies and really this news is how quickly things have shifted just in a couple months. So, yeah, like you said, this past week we saw Bitwise, Grayscale, Van Eck, Roundhill, Pro Shares, Volatility Shares, and I believe maybe one other filed for the Ethereum ETF. And so, yeah, those were the 7. But something about this Defiant article that I thought was super interesting was that they highlighted how back in early May we saw Grayscale, Bitwise, Roundhill, and a few others apply for an Ethereum ETF then, which was kind of discouraged by the SEC and was later withdrawn by a lot of these companies. And then, Mata, like you mentioned, early in July here, we saw BlackRock apply for that spot Bitcoin ETF. And so, between May, June, July, now into August here, what's really changing? It feels like as retail investors, we're kind of on the outside looking in. And you just kind of wonder, between May to June, June to July, what have these firms been hearing from the SEC? How has that sentiment changed for them to want to apply, withdraw, and then want to apply? So, yeah, I think it's just super interesting, the activity around these ETFs we've seen.
Yeah, and I think it also should be noted the SEC had approved a futures-based Ethereum ETF. This would be obviously a little bit different. It'd be a spot Ethereum ETF, which is what the applications are. So just so that everyone's aware, there are futures-based Ethereum ETFs that are approved. This is more for the spot Ethereum ETF, similar to what we were looking at from the Bitcoin perspective as well. So, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, Evan brought up an interesting point on, what's changed. And I think that's for everyone to guess about. But one thing that really strikes me as, interesting when it comes to Ethereum for the institutional use case is really you have this narrative of Bitcoin being the digital gold. And so where does Ethereum fit in within kind of an institutional type portfolio, particularly in the realm of ETFs and things like that? one thing that's really interesting about Ethereum is, of course, we know that since proof of stake, you actually have the ability to stake your Ethereum and secure the network and earn yield. That's very different from Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, you're not able to get a yield generating asset. And of course, we know that, institutional investors, for some section of their portfolio, that could be very, very attractive. Now, will that happen from the ETF? Maybe not. But what it will do is open the doors for institutionals to get involved in Ethereum in the first place. And once that door is open, of course, then the possibilities are endless with staking and things of that nature. So that's really the door that I see, that's unique when it comes to like the main difference between a Bitcoin ETF and an Ethereum ETF is that kind of opening the door into this more yield bearing type of asset that could be interesting for a lot of institutions.
Yeah, and I think something that should be said is while, it started as Bitcoin earlier last month and Ethereum, this month, I get the feeling it's probably going to stop with these two. When you look back at some of our previous XRP episodes, we've talked about the Hinman documents and how Hinman and a director at the SEC, previous director at the SEC, talked about how Ethereum and Bitcoin or really these two tokens that they saw in the space that were significantly decentralized and could be considered a commodity. And I don't think that was really shared to many other cryptos in the space, especially when you look at some of the SEC lawsuits against Solana, Coinbase with Solana and a lot of the other tokens that they've offered on their platform in the past. So, I think it's really going to be an interesting focus on these two. And I'm not sure a lot of the rulings or the findings that we get from these ETFs being accepted or denied can be really carried on to like a lot of the other cryptos in the space, which I thought is just something to be noted.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. These are the two market leaders. I mean, you would say kind of the blue chips, right, of the crypto market. It would be interesting. I mean, last bull market was all about L1s, right? So if this does go through for Ethereum at some point, and you have an ETF that's built around Ethereum, it's going to be very hard for a lot of those L1s to continue to gain market share, continue to gain a lot of the areas that we always talk about. So it should be interesting to see. I think, like we always talk about, it's good, right? You're going to have more liquidity in the cryptocurrency market. More people are going to be aware of it. It's obviously, hopefully, going to lead to a lot more development of some new products, new services, things like that. But it could kill some of that competition that we were all kind of feeding off of for that last bull run. So that's another interesting point. As it's probably going to stop at these two at least for now. Yeah. Anything else to add to that? So.
No, I think you guys really hit the nail on the head. I would agree that, I obviously, we're looking ahead a little bit. We haven't even gotten these, forget about, other cryptocurrencies. We haven't even got the Bitcoin ETF approved. Hopefully we can do that. Hopefully we can get this, Ethereum ETF approved. But there's of course probability that, they don't get approved and we got to go back to the drawing board and resubmit and like fix issues, things of that nature. So we'll be, here to cover all the latest developments, but I think you guys hit the nail on the head. So we'll wrap it up there. Just a quick one on the Ethereum ETFs, all the news that happened this week. We hope you enjoyed. If you found it useful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And we'll see you here next time on WAGMI TV.